Hey folks, Dusty here. Earlier I did an introductory video on homestead finance, which listed several categories that you need to take into consideration when getting started homesteading. This video will be a second level look from an investment perspective. Many people don't look at all of their costs and expenses as investments, but that is 100% what they are. Everything from land to building materials, livestock, equipment, feed, seeds, plants. Any money you put into your homestead is an investment into your future. Your intent is that those investments will produce rewards, either in the form of crops, meat, eggs, or dollars. On a basic level, all dollars spent should produce more dollars in return. That's the name of the game, right? Ideally, yes, though you may not be able to count everything in dollars and cents. We have to take into consideration everything that gets consumed on your homestead or leaves the homestead. Regardless of whether a product is consumed on site, sold, donated, or bartered, it should be counted as some form of a return on investment. All investments have an ROI. Some examples of ROI are direct and some are indirect. A direct ROI example is buying a cow that produces milk or meat. The purchase of the cow is a direct investment. The milk or meat would be a direct return. The hay or feed you purchase would be a direct investment also. The fencing you purchase would be an indirect investment. A livestock trailer would be another indirect investment. Anything that gets consumed to produce the milk or meat would be a direct investment. Anything that gets utilized but not consumed, therefore remains usable in the future, becomes an indirect cost or investment. This indirect investment can be spread across all animals that utilize it. On the production side, anything that cow produces is a return. Milk, meat, the hide, even manure is considered a return. The one thing that I would classify separately is if you breed that cow. Breeding costs would be an investment into the calf and should follow the calf's investment and return ledger. Even if you breed a cow unsuccessfully, the investment should go into a category planned for the calf, though the return would be zero. In this case, let's say we have a cost of $300 and a return of zero. That gives us a net return of negative $300. You lost money on this investment, so it becomes a negative return. Each of these investments or calves need to be factored into your overall net calculations. Of course, not everyone will want to track every expense and return, but it's the only way to get a true picture of how your homestead operates financially. The more accurately you follow and record all of your costs and returns, the better you will be at determining the overall ROI of each animal and each investment category. By doing this, you can then compare different livestock breeds and evaluate the ROI of chickens to cows to sheep to pigs and so on. The ability to do this will help you accurately determine what species has the best ROI for your homestead. Along these same lines, you have to also consider efficiency when raising them too. When raising 1 or 2 heifers, your per animal cost may be higher than if you were to raise 15 heifers. Raising 15 may allow you to buy your hay, feed, and supplements in bulk. Or you may be able to reduce your breeding costs per animal by having several bred at once. This may not always be the case, but it is something to consider. On the other side of that, if you have 15 cows to milk, you probably won't want to do that by hand twice a day, so that may make you want to invest in a milking system. That would be an indirect cost, but it will improve efficiency and can be used over and over for several years. So you have to determine what number of cows you want to keep while getting good returns without having additional expenses. The other significant aspect to consider when determining ROI is time. How much time will it take for your investment to start paying back? How long will it take to be paid back in full? Buying a cow who is already in milk will begin to bring a return immediately, whereas buying a bottle calf will take a full year before she starts to produce, and there will be many carrying costs along the way. Consider the initial cost of the calf, cost of transport, any vet or medicinal costs, milk or milk replacer, bottles, calf blankets, bedding, feed sources, calf housing, fencing, feed and hay costs, then into breeding costs, calving costs, milk production equipment, etc. Another part of that to consider in the meantime is that you may have to purchase milk from elsewhere until your calf is ready to produce. Though this is not a direct cost, it is a continued indirect cost for your homestead until she begins to pay back your investment. The cow will cost more up front, but will it cost more or less over time? As you get into farming and homesteading, you'll have a lot of people trying to sell you on a lot of ideas. Remember, bigger is not always better when it comes to farming. Improving efficiency comes at a price. Determining when the price of that investment will pay itself off is key. This is a big part of why so many farms have failed over the years. We see so many old school small family farms going by the wayside for two common reasons. One is a lack of labor or interest in maintaining the family farm. If the next generation doesn't have interest in farming, chances are they won't be involved, so the family farm will be sold when the parents aren't able to keep it operational. 2. Financial reasons. This happens all too often, and it is very disheartening. We are spoon-fed this idea that all farms need to grow and adapt to modern agricultural techniques in order to survive. Now, it is true that more efficiency is better, but that efficiency comes at an ever-increasing cost, especially when you need to invest in bigger buildings and larger equipment in order to manage it. And generally, when that happens, it involves banks. Banks do one thing, and they do it very well. They charge money. They charge money on both sides of almost every transaction, too. And they invest every penny you deposit and reap the interest. That's a hell of a racket if you ask me. But I digress. This is why this modern agriculture notion is so toxic to small farmers. When you invest big, you involve banks. You borrow money, you pay interest. You bet on higher returns. When it works out in your favor, that's great. But when it works against you, you lose big too. And when you have a bad year, you still have that investment you have borrowed that you have to pay back. A fantastic book on this subject is The Contrary Farmer by Gene Logsdon. I'll put a link down in the description. In the book, Gene goes into detail about old school farming methods and compares them to modern agriculture on many levels, including productivity and profitability, etc. When it comes to end-of-year calculations, it is important to know how these expenses should be accounted for, because this will affect your year-end income and tax liability. Some larger expenses or investments can be depreciated over time, and some cannot. It's best to keep accurate records and hire a good tax accountant to ensure that you are getting optimum results and not overpaying. Having the proper farm structure in place is key as well, and could save you a ton of money. Of course, the same concepts can be applied to any livestock. Some will produce returns faster than others, so take into consideration which ones are best for your homestead situation. Maintaining accurate records for both expenses and income is imperative to having accurate results at the end of the year to know whether your farm is in the black or in the red. Hope this is helpful. That's all for today, folks. I'll be doing more of these type of videos in the future, so stay tuned. As always, folks, take the trip and enjoy the ride.